Welcome to How to Produce High Quality Content on a Low or No Budget.
And our speaker is Cheryl Corris of Webex Events, a design leader, storyteller, creative problem solver, passionate about technology to build deep connection and inclusive communities, and beyond that, she's actually really nice.
And we like her energy because it's after lunch and all of that. So you all have to give her a nice clap, make her feel nice at home, and have fun.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Corris. I'm the product design leader at Webex Events. I love pizza, Peloton, and most importantly, as in my intro, I love building connection and community with tech. And I bet you do too. I bet that's why you're here. First, if you don't know Webex Events, we're an all-in-one management platform, do amazing things for in-person hybrid events. We'll show some examples later on. But first, I want to talk about what is high-quality content. Then we're going to talk about how can you make it, especially when there's little or no budget. Spoiler, and I'm seeing this as a theme across a lot of the talks today, most of us have smaller budget, less resources, smaller teams, and less time. But we still want to create amazing experiences for our attendees. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First, I want to let you know that anyone can create amazing content with little or no budget. In fact, nearly everyone is creating really good content. Content creators are everywhere, and their audiences are engaging and coming back for more. But unlike just scrolling on your phone, events are something that your audience shows up to. So how do we deliver on those expectations, all the while being really mindful of the resources that we have and the budget that we may or may not have? Not surprising, we ran a study earlier this year, and we learned that 75% of event professionals say that creating an event on a budget is a challenge. Of course it is, right? So we're going to talk about what makes high-quality content, and we'll talk about it through two lenses. First, what is relevant content? Having content that speaks directly to your audience, has them engaged, and again, coming back for more, you'll be inspired and see your event as high value, and therefore you'll get that higher ROI. Then we'll talk about flexibility content. And this is even more important now more than ever, right? Having things like a mobile app. Again, even if you're in person, you might not always be in the ballroom. I guess raise your hand if you've ever opted out of being in the ballroom to watch a keynote or a breakout session by the pool or at your hotel room. I certainly have. And so being able to provide content to your attendees when and how they want it is absolutely critical. Okay, let's talk about relevance. Understanding who is your audience and what do they want to hear. Spoiler alert, your audience also has less resources, less time, and less budget. So if they're showing up to your event, we want to make sure we give them the best content possible. And we want to make sure that the content is really at the heart of your event. Again, not surprising, we learned that almost 60% of event professionals really struggle to know who their audience was and what they wanted to hear about. How do you do that? Well, you can ask them. This is one of our customers at Webex Events called Core. They're a damage restoration service provider. They totally upped the ante on an 800-person event by offering customizable registration right up front. So asking a handful of pre-event questions to really identify who are our attendees, what do they want to talk about, really helped them craft an entire content strategy, specific discussion topics, activities, all around who their people were and what they wanted to hear. It's a really powerful way to collect that pre-event data and signals that can help shape your entire content strategy. Okay, next up is flexibility. As an attendee, being able to consume your event's content anywhere on any device means that you absolutely need a mobile app. And this also allows you to do things like bonus content, on-demand videos, special exclusive resources that you can download. Again, really high quality and relevant content in a way that is flexible, that your audience wants to consume. I promise it's not double the work, right? You can easily incorporate a lot of these digital experiences without hiring a larger team or without investing in new tech. So again, keeping it really budget friendly while still making it really high quality, flexible, and relevant to your audience. We are seeing a rise in event professionals like us really understanding that the new hybrid is really digital forward. Zoom over there called it distributed events. So absolutely, 43% and rising agree that your in-person event needs some sort of virtual offering. We are seeing a rise in in-person event coming back, which I'm super excited about. Again, building that connection, community, being able to do that in person. So attendees are really looking for that high quality content that they can consume anywhere. And again, having a single place to manage all this makes your life and their life easier. A great example of this with one of our customers at Webex Events, this is American Med Spa Association. And we really helped them come out of the pandemic with their first in-person event. And they really took their virtual offering to extend their reach and extend their messaging. They're a great example of going hybrid without a heavy lift. So again, in addition to having a fully branded mobile app, they edited their content and their sessions to create a really cool kind of exclusive feeling virtual after party. And what we saw was that even in-person attendees would then rewatch, maybe catch what they missed, or just rewatch it because they were interested in the content. So such a good example of taking that relevant, high quality in-person content and extending its reach to get the most bang for your buck. This is another one of our amazing customers. This is NASPA, their affairs organization. Really important for them to think about building inclusivity and equitable experiences, both in person and remotely. They went all in with a mobile app for that flexibility, and they started to create event experiences, again, building that community. They knew that even in-person attendees would want some sort of virtual or mobile offering. Okay, so now that we know what makes high quality content when it's relevant and when it's flexible, is really when it's perceived as high quality. Your event is seen as overall high value, your attendees are engaged, which again provides more value for sponsors. It's easier to prove your overall ROI of your event. I want to take a quick poll. If you're up for it, I would love to know, what is your biggest event planning challenge of 2023? Want to scan that with your mobile phone and use the passcode ETT. Would love to sort of get a pulse check on what is the biggest challenge that you're going to face this year in your event plans. Okay, so now that we know what makes event content great and high quality, what does that mean for those of us that want to create it? And how do you do that with less budget? And forgot to mention, higher attendee expectation, right? It's like a trifecta of what do we do now? Well, I do have some good news. And if you walk away with nothing else, I want to let you know that you can do it. You're absolutely capable of producing high quality content on a budget. So let's get tactical and talk about how. We're going to look at what's trending, so some trends in event content. Then I'll break down some tech tips, some apps and tools that are basically free to use. And then my favorite, which is like, how do we then scale your efforts to work smarter and not harder? Again, getting the most bang for your buck. First, let's talk about what's trending in event content. Here's a look at our very own internal event, the Webex Design Conference, completely powered by Webex Events. And our theme here was the magic of we. Our goals for this internal event was to promote networking, promote engagement, connect our global teams around the world. Also, not surprising, we didn't really have a budget. Had to get really creative. We really walked the walk here. So first, we created in-person experiences around the world. We had 8 watch parties from Shanghai to Chicago, from Austin to India. And while some people could travel, most of us could not. So we really needed to make sure that in addition to the in-person content, we had a really amazing virtual offering as well, both on a mobile phone and on web as well. We also didn't have a lot of money for a keynote speaker. So we had to get really creative and we crowdsourced. This is a great example of producing high quality, super relevant content for your audience, basically for free. We asked each of our leaders across several organizations to record about 10 minutes of themselves answering the same 5 questions. And then we sliced it all together in iMovie. and created our 45-minute keynote. Now, what's unique here and what was so well received is you'll see, we have our head of security design in an impeccable shoe closet, and we have our VP of design on a walk around the Space Needle. Now, what resonated with people here is that we got to see a side of folks that we don't see every day, and that authenticity and that it was really genuine, so well received by our attendees. This is one of the most highly rated talks. Again, we did it for free. It was submit a 10-minute, you could even record it on your phone, slice it together in iMovie, and that was our opening keynote. Really well received because it was authentic and genuine. We get creative with how you think about content when you don't really have money to spend. Thinking again about the relevance and flexibility, we also wanted to meet designers and our creative folks where they were. So we embedded a Miro board here again in the Webex Events app, and we hosted kind of this like pre-event happy hour where you could come in and you could custom design your badge. And if you've ever been on a Miro board where there are dozens or even tens of dozens of people all at once and you can see everyone's cursor flying around, there is nothing more magical than that. People got excited, they got inspired, and they knew how to access the app and get into the app before the day one keynote. So it served two purposes there. The idea of networking and community building before, during, and after event actually came from a lot of our customers. Again, these are our friends at AmSpa. They really nailed that pre-party hype. So again, early event access, opening up the chat, opening up the social wall. This gets attendees, again, in and familiar with the app before the event actually begins. They also did things like releasing their schedule, speaker bios in advance. So building the waves of hype to really extend the life of your content as well. Another trend we're seeing is bite-sized content that your audience wants. Again, super relevant. We put out a really flexible call for papers for our internal design conference, and we found that the most highly rated talks genuinely under 10 or so minutes. This is one of our design leaders in Ireland giving an 8-minute talk on how to file design patents. Very relevant to our audience, bite-sized so they can engage with a lot. And those smaller bits of content means that your audience is really getting that high quality value adds. Again, feels like it was created just for them. We are seeing a rise in event organizers already introducing these smaller, more intimate events throughout the calendar year. Again, building that connection and community with your attendees rather than just a one-time touch point. Another trend we're seeing, this is one of my favorites, is highlighting the strengths and talents of your speakers or your sponsors or your exhibitors. At our design conference, we opened day 2 with a mindful meditation session from one of our UX researchers. We didn't know she was a certified meditation coach, but it was so lovely to highlight that talent and bring it to a larger audience. We also had one of our teammates in Shanghai who really mastered the art of making Chinese noodles. This is something she's really passionate about, and she brought us along for the journey to show us how in like a 4-minute video. So again, get creative and think about how you can highlight strengths and talents of your sponsors, of your speakers, or your exhibitors. We also thought about how to create some budget-friendly, more immersive experiences. So here we use the sponsor feature in Webex Events to create these video tours of the offices around the world. As I mentioned, we had 8 global watch parties. I've only been to one of those offices. And so we asked everyone to submit a really casual, kind of homegrown video tour. This is one of our design leaders in Ireland, and she walked around and gave us a tour of the Galway office. Now, would I have loved to have the travel budget to go there and visit her and be there in person? Yes, of course, and I hope someday I will. But for now, being able to scale those immersive experiences on a virtual platform with content created by my speakers or my sponsors did the trick. And again, super, super well received. Everybody loved that. Another kind of buzzword and trend that we're hearing is sustainability, right? Super trendy, but I'll be honest, it's better for the planet. It's also better for our budgets because you can do away with printed materials and things that don't necessarily bring you the most bang for your buck. Here we had exclusive kind of virtual backgrounds and desktop wallpapers. These are things that we put in our virtual merch store created by our design team. and they're able to really extend the footprint and brand of your event. We still have people using these virtual meeting backgrounds, and then people ask them and we start to talk. So it really creates the buzz and the brand for your event long after in real time. Most of our customers, by the way, have gotten on board with skipping the printed materials. These are our friends I mentioned at NASPA. They had a completely digital program, and they had all their event content as well as local restaurant guides, community resources right in the app. So again, no need to print or do anything. Really good for the planet, also really good for your budget. Okay, so now we've looked at a couple trends in the tech, right? Let's talk about some apps and some tools that you can use if you really want to ensure that you're raising the bar for your event's content on a shoestring budget. For event visuals, I like things like Canva, because let's face it, you might not have access to a marketing, a brand, or a design team. Those teams also have less budget, less resources, and are smaller than ever. Sometimes you got to DIY your own. Again, you can absolutely use the free version of Canva for things like event graphics, social media promos, creating a really high-end look and feel that's cohesive across all touch points for free. You can also dabble into AI for making your own images and graphics. Here's a quick example of Midjourney. Since creating this deck, Microsoft, Google, as well as Adobe have all launched AI generators for images. So really, there's no excuse for poor event visuals. I promise, if I can do it, you can do it too. It's super easy, and again, it's free. Now, once you get your look and feel of your event across all touch points, it feels high quality, you've done it hopefully on a very low budget, let's talk about how to be a rockstar producer. So again, this means getting your speakers in it ready so they're confident and they show up in their best light. You want to do practice sessions and think about how your brand will extend on stage, again, both physically as well as digitally. For your audience, love that you want to be active in the Q&A and in the chat, again, both in person and digitally. Great examples of that even here at this event today. At Webex Events, we just launched our production studio. This is where you can create and manage live stream content. So we use this for our own events. We have a very small planning team, and often internally, we don't have a huge budget. So again, we're always being asked to do more with less, which I think I've heard that phrase in every talk that I've been to today. It's a theme, and it's something that we're all feeling. Our goal with the production studio is really to make managing your live stream approachable and democratize that so anyone can do it. Again, super customizable, and making sure that your brand shows up in the best light on stage as well. If you don't want to live stream, another great option is using Simulive for flexibility. Here is a great example of our signature enterprise event called Webex One. If you want to get the full case study, do scan the QR code in the bottom right because it's a great case study. But again, we used Simulive so that we could then have the sort of man and woman power in the chat answering questions being present. And again, great Q&A happening in real time. So not only is your audience engaging by watching the content, but you can then have your speakers and your subject matter experts really active and engaging in chat. And of course, get the most bang for your buck by making your content available on demand. This extends the shelf life for all of the great content that you put in. Okay, so we looked at what's trending, and then we looked at how to do it and some tech tips. This is my favorite because we're going to talk about how to scale your efforts so that you can work smarter, not harder. I might change this to do more with less because, again, that's sort of a theme I'm hearing today. At Webex Events, I mentioned we have a really small planning team, and they've done a really good job of assembling panels of thought leaders. So this brings new insights and new voices to the stage. Here, I was part of a panel discussion with leaders across marketing and our customer teams. This group dynamic brings new perspectives and, again, that authenticity to your event. Super well received by the audience, and it's almost like you're crowdsourcing your content across your team. It also will expand your reach. So again, each one of the panelists, myself included, shared it on social media, tagged each other. It really amplifies your promotion efforts. You're going through all that effort to create the content. Now you've just amplified it by 5. So again, everybody did a little video spot on LinkedIn and we cross-posted, and a really good way to amplify your effort. Another good way to do that is to partner with creators, sponsors, and exhibitors. This is DJ Graffiti. Anybody know DJ Graffiti? Have you seen him in an event? He's awesome. And we partner with him a lot for these sort of virtual DJ performances. It really brings the hype. But again, this is a good way to amplify that cross-promotional effort. So his performances are great. He shares our event. We share it for him. He stopped by our booth at IMEX last year, and we did a fun kind of collaboration. So absolutely, when you think about ways to create content on a budget, partner with great people, creators in the community, your sponsors, or people that have hidden talents that are adjacent or relevant to your audience. Speaking of IMEX, here is a booth tour that we did on site. And similar to how we had the office tour in our design conference, this really creates that in-person FOMO. So again, many attendees maybe couldn't be there in person, but we're using this content and this immersive experience like video here embedded in the Webex Events app to really build that hype. And we're able to reuse that video across a lot of channels as well. Another good example of that is being able to repackage what resonates with a new audience. Here's an example from Webex One, our keynote talk, like a 2-hour keynote talk, but we clipped it up into 10 and 20-second sound bites, shared it on social media, replayed it in between live stream content of other events. This is a great way to keep your content top of mind. And again, these bite-sized, digestible chunks of information, get the most bang for your buck, and absolutely reuse and repurpose content across different avenues and channels. And my favorite is use the audience to create content for you. This gives them an opportunity to become thought leaders and experts of their own personal brand. And it gives you authentic content creation basically at no cost and at scale. So really, it's a fun and free way to engage with the audience and have them contribute to the conversation. I know ETL has a hashtag. I think it's right there. So we're all creating content that then maybe they'll reshare. This is our selfie booth at Webex One. It was a huge hit. And again, the more intentional you are about encouraging this, you will really see kind of the amplified creativity across your audience. Again, definitely leverage your audience here for sure. Okay, so to recap, great content is absolutely doable on low or no budget. First, it needs to be relevant and it needs to be flexible. Then when you talk about how to make it, again, there are some trends to keep an eye out for. Absolutely use some of those apps and tools that I mentioned, but don't forget the most important is to work harder and not smarter. How do you scale those efforts with little or no budget? Remember, if not for nothing else, you got this. Creating digital content really is more about the quality than the budget that you have. So remember that you can do it. Thank you so much. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn. If you want a demo of Webex Events, please do scan the QR code as well. Would love to take questions if anyone has them. Thank you. You can ask me anything.
Okay, so no questions at all for her. She must have done a phenomenal job.
Thank you
Let's
so
give
much.
her a hand again.
Thank you.